Good afternoon, everyone. It's nearly 10 to 3 here on Friday, the 25th of September. I hope you're having a great afternoon, a very windy West London this afternoon. So I'm looking, as always, at VectorVest USA, which is running in real time as we speak. And the story is that there's a great deal of red, as you can see on the front page of VectorVest USA. All of the measures of the trend are down. So the short-term trend is down, the underlying trend is down, and that underlying trend has been confirmed by 2 weeks price action. So, and the pointer says that VectorVest doesn't advocate buying any stocks at this time. Darn good advice. As you can see, yesterday at the close, there was a black star within that red light in the price column of the color guard, which means that the price itself was down day over day and week over week, but the momentum as measured by the proprietary VectorVest metric RT was also heading down. So price is heading down and the driver had his foot on the petrol. The 3200 level on the S&P 500 is still holding. That's a very important level. We'll get to that in a second. Let's just look at the VectorVest composite. I think I've got it up. That's it. That's the VectorVest composite of the USA, and I've loaded the DEW market timing signals. Let me rather start with the longer term measure, which are the confirmed calls, and you can see that confirmed call, the last one was on the 11th of September. So that's the longest term measure of the trend on VectorVest USA. That's down. There was the upswing there on the 18th of May. As you can see, the market's starting to get very oversold here because the buy-sell ratio is right down at 0.16 now. The experts in North Carolina tell me that if the buy-sell ratio historically gets below 0.25, then that's a mega oversold situation. The MTI, the market timing indicator, is getting down there into a mega oversold situation. It needs to get down to about 0.6. It's sitting at 0.7. So we're approaching an oversold area where we could expect a bounce here, folks. Just remember, as we saw on the way up here, that these trends can last much longer than we think. That divergence that I saw and talked about between the price and the buy-sell ratio hung around for a very long time. Nevertheless, the facts are that this market is heading down, and until we see some green from the front page of VectorVest, well, we should in fact just do what VectorVest tells us to do. Okay, so those of you that know me well will know that when you see bars, that's something I'm trading myself. So take the stochastic off for a second. This is the S&P 500, and that's what it's done this year. I've been looking at these fib levels for a long time, folks, for a quarter of a century, and people keep asking me the same question. Why did you start it there? Sometimes I haven't got a great answer to that, but my stomach tells me that this fib should be started at the June low to the high a fortnight ago. We can see that I've got a confluence. Now, if you've done my bit of the precision swing trading course, you'll know that I love my confluences of old highs, fibs and trend lines. But I've got a confluence here where I've got an old high by the shouting, and as you can see, that level broke, and then the market came back and kissed it just here. Got to get these right, because that's what the guys who run this market will be getting it right to the tick. And that low that we saw the other day, that 3200 that I've been expecting for the last week or so, that stopped the market. Didn't quite get down to 3200. I think it stopped at 3205, and this is a very important level, folks. And the market opened up a tick or two and busy giving that back. So we'll see what happens. I think that there is a high probability of at least a short-term bounce relatively soon. but the facts are that the trend is still down. If I have a look at some of the shares in the US that I'm following, I have a rogues gallery. There they are, of shares that I believe have merit. And Apple, of course, would seem to be, in fact, doing reasonably well. It's up $1 today, which is 1%. And if we chart Apple, we can see that if I go to a 6-month chart, that it's already come down and hit the 618 of the last move, and looking reasonably good today. As you can see, I've got this line here, and I felt last night when I was looking at this until the wee hours, as they say, that a break above that high would be strong confirmation that this in particular low was in. I won't do anything until I see some evidence from the front page of VectorVest that the market has turned. Dr. Toledo says it so well when he says that the most important thing to know is whether the market is rising or falling. Everything follows from that. And at the moment, the general market is saying that the trends are down. I still think there's a high probability we're going to see a bounce relatively soon, and I think that if I saw something from the front page of VectorVest and the market will break up through that high is what old traders used to call a 1, 2, 3 low. A 1, 2, 3 breaks above that high, and that's as old as trading itself. Goes right back to Mr. Gann, way back 100 plus years ago. That would be quite nice confirmation. I'm worried, however, that there's an old high here and a 78% retracement at 100, and 100's a very big number as well. So if the general market slips through that 3200 level, I assure you that this will slip to the 100. So let's just wait a little bit, and waiting is really difficult, I know. Much more difficult than it would seem, for sure. So let's have a look at the UK. And the UK, well, a lot of red as well. All the measures of the trend are down apart from the longest measure of the trend, which is our confirmed calls. It's still up. Okay, the buy-sell ratio, not as low as in the US, but nevertheless well below zero, getting down at 0.6. The MTI stuck its head below 1, thus the underlying trend is down. And the color guard is saying does not advocate buying stocks at this time. All right, so I think I've got the somewhere or other, I've got the VectorVest Composite UK, and if I put on the confirmed calls, there they are, confirmed up on the 27th of April, and that confirmed up is still in place. And I did a video the other day for Core Finance, and I presented the results of our worry-free trading methodology, and that worry-free trading methodology until Wednesday night when I did the presentation Thursday morning was up 19.5% on the year with no trading whatsoever since the end of April. So I'm very pleased with that methodology to ruggedly take money out of the market without a great deal of effort. If you're struggling with your trading, that's a really great place to start, to build the discipline to become a successfully and consistently winning trader. If I put on the DEW, the medium-term measure of the market, DEW, noisy in a market that's going nowhere, folks. Wonderful signals when you get a market that's in fact vastly oversold in this case, and that was a really good signal on the 7th of April, and as you can see, it's now given 3 sell signals up here. So the DEW is down and all the measures of the trend are down. So not a day to be buying anything, a day to be watching stop losses very carefully indeed. If we go to VectorVest UK and we just simply click on viewers, you really don't have to look very hard to find some shares that you would like to buy. This is not the day to buy them, but for example, I noticed again in the small hours last night 4 shares at the top that look very interesting: Venture Life, Computer Center, Kingspan, and Clipper. All right, and all 4 shares are undervalued. They're trading below the VectorVest valuation, and we favor shares that are trading below the VectorVest valuation. As my granddad used to tell myself and my brother, the only way to make money in anything is to find the value of something and then pay less for it. He was a farmer. All he wanted to do was buy more land. So if we go across, we can see that the relative value for these 4 shares, let me just see if I can highlight them without stuffing this up. There we go. The relative value, which is a measure of the share price appreciation potential in relation to a government bond, is at 1.59, 1.38, 1.68 and 1.32. These are all excellent on a scale between 0 and 2. And the relative safety of all 4 is fair for Venture Life and excellent for the rest. Now, Clipper is also fair. So we've got 4 shares here that have got that wonderful combination of growing their earnings strongly and dependably and safely. And that's a really great place to be. The short-term trends are all very strong. The master indicator VST are all well above 1.3. And if I go across here, I can see they're all in buy recommendations, which is good. And the CI, which is a measure of the long-term trend, are all excellent, well above 1.3. And the growth rate of all shares looking quite respectable. Okay, the one that really comes to mind is Kingspan, which is this Irish building products company, and folks, it's on a PE of next to nothing, and a growth to PE, for those of you that are fundamental analysts, of 12. So just be careful of Kingspan. It's an Irish company and it's priced in euros, so speak to your broker about that, speak to your advisor about that. It's not priced in pounds. Doesn't make a great deal of difference to the profit potential. So we've got 4 shares that fundamentally and technically really look wonderful, and we found them in 2 minutes by looking at the top few shares by VST. Sometimes we make this job far too darn difficult, and I've been reminded of this by some brand new VectorVest customers where they found shares just by looking at the top 10 or 15 by VST. Just remember, folks, that when a share hits the top VST, there's a good chance that you've never heard of it. 3 or 4 years ago, it took me a long time to buy into Games Workshop because I'd never heard of the darn thing, and it made toy soldiers, and I went on a panel of investment experts once upon a time, and when I told them that I was buying Games Workshop, I was laughed at. So let's see if I can chart these without screwing it up. Graph selected. All right, and this share was pointed out to me by Steve from our Oxford user group. Steve's a great trader, a great source of inspiration to us all at the user group meetings, which are all online these days, so anybody can come to them. This market broke, and it's come back and kissed, and as you can see, it's gapped up in the last couple of days. If we look at it a little bit close, we can see it gapped up in a really cool volume as well. So that's something that if this market has moved up strongly in a miserable tape or a miserable market, we put on value, you can see the value's really up here. So that's something for you to look at, folks, if the market in fact starts to move up. And the little color guard, the traffic light, says VectorVest advocates buying safe undervalued shares that are rising in price at this time. And Venture Life, I know the spread is high, but nevertheless it's worth having a look at. This is Computer Center, and Computer Center, folks, there's the earnings per share. It's moving up, upgraded recently. And if I put on value for a second, you can see the values in the right place. If I just look at the volume, as you can see, as this was rising, volume was rising. On that big day, volume rose. That's a really good sign for that chart. So that's something for you to look at as well. This is that king span that I spoke about a second. Those of you that know my work will know that I particularly like a market that comes back and kisses. And that's what I call a sweet spot. That would have been a great place to have got in there. And it rose yesterday on reasonable volume, certainly worth your attention. And this was brought to my attention by Nigel, a very long time VectorVest subscriber, and as you can see, this market is rising beautifully. Earnings per share starting to move up quite strongly, but technically value, there's our valuation up there, so it's undervalued, and you can see that this price moving up on very strong volume. That's a very strong chart indeed, and this is moving up in a market that's been flat in the UK for the last couple of months, and certainly moved up very strongly yesterday on quite a bad day. So don't stress too much, folks. You can find really good companies that are undervalued, companies with high RVs, high RSs, just by looking at the front page of VectorVest. And if you want a lesson in that, come to the London user group, where Susan Thornborough shows a magnificent technique to find winning shares in a few seconds without any complexity whatsoever, and she does it in her own very, very modest and wonderful way. In both, let's go back to the US market, where we can see what's happening, and we're down 5 ticks. 32.46, that 3200 level, a very important level. I think if that 32200 level goes, that there's still a great deal of downside. I'm optimistic that we're going to see a bounce, but then, as you know, I'm always optimistic. Otherwise you would die in this business. The last thing I want to look at is the gold market, and that's a chart of gold spot. And as you know, I took what is known in South Africa as a clap at somewhere about here, because I felt that that was going to in fact run up in this little triangle, and it didn't, and the market fell out of bed. I think we're starting to look very attractive here at these levels in precious metals. I think it needs a few days to confirm here, unless you want to buy at the... I think this is a very good level, but the caveat is that I would certainly draw a fib from here to here, and the 618 is at 1826. I think if you see it dropping to 1826, certainly the worst is over. I'm hoping that this level is going to hold, and that would be one of my very famous spring setups. So I think that we're very close to being able to re-enter into the gold market after being stopped out. And if you do want to be a trader, folks, developing your resilience is as important as any form of technical studies, being able to get up after a smack. All right. I look forward to discussing all of these things in detail on Monday afternoon. Let me get the date for you. It's Monday afternoon, the 28th of September at 1:30. We'll go through all of this. Don't make it too complicated. Favor undervalued shares, favor shares with high RVs, favor shares with an RS of 1.2 plus, and you'll find that your journey will be reasonably emotionally calm. And you want to buy those shares when the general market is rising. At the moment, on both sides of the pond, it is not. So I hope you find this useful, folks. Have a great weekend, and I'll speak to all the VectorVest customers on Monday afternoon. If you're not a VectorVest customer, shoot me off an email and I'll give you a guest pass. It's Trader Davy, TraderDavy@gmail.com, or take a 30-day trial to VectorVest UK and VectorVest USA. It's a $5. Okay. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Red